Breaking news, this just in. We finally get the details about Three Arrows Capital and what was really going on behind the scenes. We also got news that Tesla has actually sold 75% of their Bitcoin holdings, actually even at a loss. And we had the European Central Bank raise interest rates for the first time in 11 years. Let's dive into this week's edition of the weekly news with the latest headlines in the crypto space. If you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Dirk. Subscribe down below, click the notification bell so you do get future updates, and get on my email list. It's the first link in the description down below. Pause the video right now, sign up for the email list so that you do get email notifications whenever I upload a video or when there's something important to share. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or join our free public Telegram. The links are in the description down below. So very recently, in the last few days, we actually got this article that came out on Bloomberg with a lot more details about what was happening behind the scenes and the story behind Three Arrows Capital and what was happening from a founder's point of view with Suzu and Kyle Davis. I'm not going to dive into the whole article. I do recommend you read it. But basically, they eventually surfaced now and they shared this information after 5 weeks of staying silent. Saying, they have to be mysterious about their location, they have to be secretive because they're getting death threats, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, but they're basically working with the liquidators and regulators to try and resolve the situation as much as possible. But it basically shows that the creditors claim $2.8 billion owed by Three Arrows Capital, and we've been hearing about this for the last few weeks. I've been updating this, frankly getting a little bit tired about the situation, but it's really bad, actually. They managed to borrow billions and billions of dollars without giving collateral, and they just gambled it all away on the crypto space, while all they had to do was just take profits when they were up at the peak of the market, pay back their loans, and they would have been in a great situation. Instead, now they got liquidated, they owe billions of dollars to people, and they created a lot of damage in the crypto space because obviously as a fallout, we have these lending platforms like Celsius and Voyager with massive loans to 3AC that now can't be repaid. And as a result, obviously the customers of those platforms have a lot of issues. And, all of it overall is just a bad situation. So you can see over here, creditors of the fund recently registered in the BVI filed paperwork saying they're owed more than $2.8 billion in unsecured claims. The figure is expected to rise significantly, court papers show. To date, liquidators have gained control of assets worth only $40 million while they owe billions of dollars. And spoken like a true gambler, they say, "We believed in everything to the fullest. We had almost all of our assets in there, and then in the good times, we did the best. But in the bad times, we lost the most." And that's obviously the case if you are gambling, because when things are going good, yes, you're up the most, but when things go against you, you are down the most and you get liquidated. So hopefully this is going to be a big lesson in the space, and no one is going to follow in their footsteps. Unfortunately, probably if we get another bull market, there are going to be more people who are going to get greedy and probably follow in these footsteps. But learn from it, and let's move on to the next piece of news. So another story that has developed is that an ex-Coinbase manager has been arrested in the US for crypto insider trading case. So basically what was going on is this person allegedly had access to insider information like listings that were about to happen, and they were able to act on those listings or on that information before it happened. And that's obviously insider trading, which is obviously illegal. There's probably a lot more cases like this happening that we haven't heard about, but in this specific case, it is allegedly an ex-Coinbase manager that has been arrested. And Kobe here on Twitter, at Kobe, I'll add the link in the description down below. Basically, he had already observed this back in April 2022, where he found an ETH address that bought hundreds of thousands of dollars of tokens exclusively featured in the Coinbase asset listing post 24 hours before it was published. So that is obviously an insider with clear information over there. Moving on, the UK inflation has hit a new 40-year high of 9.4% as cost of living crisis deepens. This is happening around the world. It's not just in the UK, it's in Europe, it's in America, it's happening everywhere. Inflation is out of control, which is basically the result of excessive money printing. So the more money that's printed, the more stimulus that's created, the more the currency devalues, the more that prices go up. And it's basically no surprise if you understand this basic concept. And as a result of inflation, basically the central banks are now raising interest rates. We've seen the Federal Reserve in the US has been increasing interest rates for a while already. Now the European Central Bank has, for the first time in 11 years, increased the interest rates. And basically what this means is that the interest rate, so the cost to borrow money, increases, which helps curb inflation. It brings the inflation numbers down, but it's pretty much bad for everything else. It's bad for the housing market because mortgages get more expensive, which means people have to pay more for their houses, or if they want to apply for a new mortgage, they're probably going to have to pay more. And it's also bad for people who are speculating on other asset markets, for example, the stock market, because if they're borrowing money and now they have to pay more to borrow that money, their returns have to increase to make that justify the risk. And if the interest rates increase enough and the reward becomes too little, people stop speculating with borrowed money or do it a lot less. And as a result, the prices of assets tend to come down and the speculation comes down, which is bad for asset markets. Like I said, stock markets, crypto, housing, and so on and so forth. Now, a huge piece of news that was not received very well by crypto enthusiasts is that Tesla has announced that it sold 75% of its Bitcoin purchases. So when Tesla originally announced that they bought $1.5 billion of Bitcoin, everyone was ecstatic, myself included, because it was a huge piece of news. But now it turns out they actually ended up selling and they sold for a little bit of a loss. Who knows what the reasons are behind it? Some people say it is to turn their balance sheet, their cash flow positive for Q2. Other people say there's other reasons. Whatever the reasons are, these are the facts. They ended up selling 75% of their Bitcoin. And in a way, that is also a good thing, because it means that 75% of Bitcoin has already been sold, meaning they don't have those Bitcoins anymore to sell on the market, which is a good thing if you are hoping for the bottom to be in, because it means that there's 75% of $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin that can now no longer be sold because it's already been sold. Now, next week, in the week ahead that's about to come right now, is going to be a really big week because there are a lot of tech earnings. So in the corporate world, in the stock market, in the traditional finance world, a lot of important earnings updates. You can see over here Google, Microsoft, many over here coming out next week. And we also have the Federal Reserve interest rate decision coming out, the FOMC meeting. So that is obviously really anticipated. It's going to be really watched, because are we going to get a 75 or 100 or even higher than that basis point increase in interest rates? And that is potentially going to lead to a very volatile week next week. A lot of activity in the markets, so be prepared for that. Then what's interesting to note is that Singapore's central bank is planning to unveil its strategy to develop the country as a crypto hub next month. So that's going to be very interesting to see if Singapore is actually very pro-crypto and going to be setting itself up as, you know, a place where crypto is going to be able to thrive, where companies can register and set up and operate. And as you may know, Singapore, there's a lot of companies already in the crypto space that have their headquarters in Singapore, possibly or likely for this reason, that they are so pro-crypto, and hopefully that's going to get even better when these details get announced. Now, in another big development, French banking giant BNP Paribas enters crypto's custody space. So the French bank will be working with crypto custody specialists, Metaco and Fireblocks. So this is obviously huge. It's a very big, well-known bank. French bank BNP Paribas is entering the crypto custody space with a partnership with the Swiss digital asset safekeeping firm Metaco, according to 3 people of knowledge of the deal. And then finally, our last piece of news is the cover of Time for their latest edition, the magazine Time, and that is all about the Metaverse. So this is pretty cool to see, because it means that there is serious big time interest in crypto, in the Metaverse, and everything that is surrounded around it, NFTs, potentially crypto gaming. So this shows you that crypto is here to stay, even though we are in these bearish times. Markets are down, there's a lot of negative sentiment, but the larger picture is very bullish for crypto, and for anyone who's going to continue to be interested in the space, to continue to research and learn. There are going to be huge opportunities to make enormous potential upside in this space. So continue to pay attention, because I think it's going to get much bigger over the coming years. So that is it for this week's edition of the Weekly News. If you enjoyed this content, please smash the like button down below. It helps the video get out to more people. If you're not yet subscribed, click the subscribe button, click that notification bell, and be sure to get on my email list. It is the first link in the description down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.